Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Improving Always podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about playing simple, what it means, and why maybe, just maybe, it's overrated. Okay. We'll hop right in because obviously, I've been talking about this a lot lately on TikTok. About coaches who told me that I had to play simple, and I will just get this out of the way early. By most people's definition of playing simple, yes, the game of soccer a lot of the time should be played simply, right? Like a lot of the game in possession is pass and move and receive and pass and move and receive and pass and move and receive. Now I wouldn't necessarily say that all of that is simple. And then also, by the same token, out of possession, very, very simple, work hard to win the ball back and, drop back into shape if you can't. So I guess we'll kind of start there. What does playing simple even mean? Because I'm sure we've all had coaches yell at us play simply, make simpler decisions, but what does that even mean? Let's start there.
So I think because unavoidably we're going to use this quote at one time or another. The famous Johan Cryuff.
We're sponsored by Starbucks, by the way.
But the famous Johan Cryuff quote where he goes, "Football is a simple game, but the hardest to play simple is the hardest thing you can do." I think that really sums up my opinion because whether he meant it or not, he is stating a clear contradiction here that football is a simple game, but the hardest thing you can do is to play simple. Well, simple and hard are literally opposites. They're antonyms. Yeah. So if to play simple, and for Cryuff, I'm going to say the Barcelona and Ajax way, is the hardest thing you can do. Well, it's not very simple at all. It's actually very intricate and complex, obviously. It's just that maybe when you have Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta together, it looks simple because of their extremely high technical level and their abilities. So this is actually where I kind of really dislike the play simple argument, is because if what we were actually doing was playing more simple, more people would do it, more people could do it. And my experience with teams, when I hear this, they say that, and I've even had teams, for example, say, yeah, play simple. We're going to play like Barcelona. And then the first thing that happens is we play super direct and we don't keep possession and we can't do it. And I was like, what happened to playing like Barcelona? We're playing like a much worse version of Stoke City.
Yeah. Hey, don't you dare hate on the best team in England. I totally agree. Tiki-taka is not simple, right? Total football is not simple. Moving the ball quickly, even just 1-2 touch play and moving the ball around quickly. There's a reason that not every team can play like that. There's a reason that when you see that goal that is 26 consecutive passes, 1 and 2 touch, that's on a highlight,
especially through
thing.
Defenders.
Yeah. There's a reason that we watch that and we're like, oh my God, that's incredible. If it was simple, everyone could do it. Dimitri, what's your experience with coaches telling you to play simple and what it actually kind of means to you?
I don't know. When I was in the States, it was definitely a lot of the term was thrown around a lot that we were going to play simple, and we were forced to do all these drills, one touch. When we were I get doing rondos one touch, and even in the professional level in Spain, the rondos end up being one touch, but it's just because
you have to play that quick.
The right decision at the time, you have to play that quick. But there's a reason why my team here in Spain, we won playoffs and we got promoted to the 3rd division, playing simply, but it wasn't simple. We spent days just training how to play out from the back because it's so much easier just to kick it long. And to play simply, as we say, it's so hard because everyone needs to be on the same page too. You know, you can't play simple if you're the only one playing simply. If the other teammates aren't doing what you're doing, it's impossible to do it. We had this, our coach kept saying this in Spain. To play simply, you need 3 options at all time. You need a pass, like a safety pass, you need a pass to progress, and you need a pass that's like a solution, like a long ball. So if you're lacking even one of those at any moment when you're trying to play simply, it all breaks apart.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned the long ball, because that was exactly my thought. Because if you think of simple versus complexity, especially if you think of it mathematically, what is the most simple path to the goal? A straight line. And how can we make a straight line any
line
better
or
than
line
just
segment? The ball does stop moving at some point.
Yes, but how can we make it more simple than a straight
not if
line
Noblitz dribbling?
Just a straight line going into the box.
Yeah.
And we just kick the ball straight into the box. I mean, yeah, like if I was actually going to say what is playing simple, if we use the term literally, it would be either only playing very, very safe 5-yard passes and lumping the ball into the box whenever you have an opportunity to lump it into the box, because one, lumping it into the box normally isn't going to get you scored on because it's in the other team's box. And most people are good enough to do that. And the safe pass, it's a safe pass for obvious reasons. Now, the playing actual possession in technical soccer, not very safe. It's the opposite of simple often. It's often complex. And I think the other thing a lot of coaches will equate playing simple to, and we kind of hinted at it but didn't say it, it's not dribbling when you shouldn't dribble, or even worse, discouraging dribbling and creativity altogether, and yelling at players who dribble and maybe lose the ball, like a certain TikTok coach we're familiar with.
Yeah, I think and dribbling, like it's always like passing is simple and dribbling is complicated, but driving forward into space is arguably like more simple than passing. Simple. Right. And that's something that I, encourage my players to do a lot. Obviously it doesn't end there, right? You need to offload the ball or dribble or, and then make your movements off the ball as well. But driving to space, what could be more simple than that? Right. But that's a lot of the time where I, start with teams, is that's one of the first things we'll talk about, is taking your space. And then from there, it does get a little bit more complicated, even if you're just getting rid of the ball and making a little run to, receive it again. Or if you start dribbling and people are in 1v1 situations, Messi, his body feints and stuff are so simple. That stuff isn't, are you kidding? If it was simple, anyone could do it. It's not simple, right? Those little body
somehow
feints.
Stepovers are complicated, but Messi dribbling past and dicing 4 players with 3 moves is very, very simple. Because of course I can do that too, but doing 3 stepovers, no.
You can do 3 stepovers in a row without messing up. No clue. Can you teach me, please? I've been trying this whole time.
I'll teach you this next in 2022. We'll start the stepover lessons.
It's just crazy to me because I don't know, Messi's body feints and stuff are definitely not simple. And then obviously Neymar doing a million stepovers to get past someone isn't simple either, but it's just different styles. They're accomplishing the same thing in a different way. And that's what all players do, right? All players do almost everything a little bit differently. My shooting technique is going to be a little bit different to Noblitz, is going to be a little bit different to Dimitri, is going to be a little bit different to everyone watching this. The skills we use in 1v1 situations, they're all going to be different as well. Our first touch is going to be different. That's just, how it goes. And I think a lot of this, playing simple comes, it makes it feel all players need to play
any player's style is discouraged.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad you brought up Messi, because there's so many people bring up the fact that Messi doesn't do stepovers. Now, there are a few select examples of Messi doing stepovers. I've seen it. But
that's why he's the reality.
Best. the reality is like they go, oh, Messi doesn't do step overs. You shouldn't do step overs either. That's flashy. That's ineffective. That's just showing off. And it's like, well, yeah, but I mean, name a elite level dribbler other than Messi that literally did no other step overs that you've watched in recent history. And I can only name a couple off the top of my head. Interestingly enough, another one's the famous Argentinian Diego Maradona. But nobody thinks Diego Maradona played simple because he did not play simple. And he did do tricks. He just, for some reason, didn't do step overs. But I think there is a sort of both fan, coach, and player that thinks you pass with the inside of your foot, you receive the ball with the inside of your foot, and you dribble in straight lines until you see a defender, then you pass again. And that's how they think you should play. And that's robotic. And yeah, if that's how you play, it's simple. But the players that they use as examples are normally doing the complete opposite of what they're actually saying to do.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think that like playing simple has been like the term has been so used that it's just like it's lost all its meaning. And to me, like, passing can be very, very complicated. Passing can be simple. Passing can be, or dribbling can be very, very complicated. It can be very simple. Driving forward could be simple, could be complicated. Shooting, simple, complicated. Like there's no like simple hardly means anything anymore. It's just like this word that we're like, simple. That's how you have to play. And it's really not. I like what Dimitri mentioned about like having 3 options at all times, because like, I think it's easier to think about this as rather than playing simple and playing complicated, think of it as playing safe and taking risks.
Playing effective.
Right? But playing safe and then taking risks. And then within that, you want to play effectively, right? In different situations, it's going to be more effective to play safe. So if it's like a spectrum, right? You're playing safe and you have taking risks, right? Like in certain situations, playing effectively is going to be over here, all the way over here, maybe a little bit.
Playing effectively is going to be even the safe option sometimes. I think you mean taking risk or being positive, not being effective versus playing safe.
No, like,
I don't know. I'd say it's being effective. How am I going to be most effective in this situation? How am I going to help the team the most?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes playing safe.
Is it if I'm under pressure, man one-on-one?
Yeah. If I'm under pressure from like 3 players in my defensive third and my safest pass is back to my goalkeeper, that's the most effective pass I could make. Taking a risk would be trying to turn them.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? Like if you have like this is like the riskiest thing you can do, and this is like the safest thing you can do. And in each situation, like maybe this is a better decision, or maybe
I was agreeing with you. I just thought the terminology should be slightly different because being effective can sometimes be playing safe. But I agree with that, and I would also say like you could view it almost as geometry, and you try to provide your teammate always with a left option, a right option, and a through option, and maybe even a drop option if they have the option on the field. And this is another point that we're getting to, is like why passing is more complex, because passing has more variables. You have to have multiple players on the pitch on the same page. Where with dribbling, even if I'm taking on 1-2 defenders, sometimes that's more simple than 3-4 players being on the same page and going bang, 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 and you pass through a defense. Like, I think that's just something like there's a reason only a few top teams at the highest level. I mean, even in the Premier League, La Liga, or top international level, there's only a few teams who really, really can have that slick of a passing game on a regular basis for a reason.
Yeah. And I think like, it's also important to point out that like, high level teams do not play safe in possession. Like they may play safe in possession to work the ball out of the back. All right. They may play safe at times through, the center of the field. Not always. Okay. But like great teams are willing to take a risk, and great players are willing to take a risk, right? If you only ever play, I'll say safe, not simple. So if you only ever play safe, you're not going to create opportunities, right? You need to be willing to take a risk to open up that space. You need to be willing to take a 1v1. You need to be willing to make a risky pass. All right. There's no way around that. And I honestly think that being willing to take a risk is more important than just making good decisions all the time, right? Because in my opinion, if you have a young player and you teach them to make good decisions all the time, and that's it, that's great. Obviously, we want young players to make good decisions on and off the ball. But if they're never willing to take a risk, those good decisions become safer and safer and safer and safer and safer. And eventually you lose what makes that player great, right? Even defensively, you'll take risks by going in for a tackle or, stepping up to make an interception or something. And you need to be willing to do that because that's what great players do. And at the highest, you'll never even get to a high level of play if all you ever do is play it safe, even no matter what position you are. Let's leave goalkeeper maybe, but still as a goalkeeper, confidence is important, right? I think that I tend towards if we have that spectrum of safe and risk, I tend towards the riskier side of that than a lot of coaches do, because I think the reward is so great there. And I would rather pull a player back towards the middle a little bit, help them make better decisions than have to push them towards being confident. That's a lot harder to do when a player isn't willing to take risks, to kind of push them towards believing in themselves. Obviously that's what I talk about a lot, but it's a lot more difficult than just reining a player in who has a lot of confidence, right? I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I mean, it's the difference between playing well and playing scared. A scared player will play the 5-yard pass consistently. They'll drop the ball back and play safe, but they're rarely going to take their space even when it's wide in front of them because they lack the confidence. They're scared. They want to let someone else do the hard work. And yes, you're 100% right. The players who always play safe, they're not going to make the highest levels because, well, everybody can play safe. I mean, if you've played any form of competitive soccer in your life, no matter how low level or youth that competitive soccer is, you can play a 5-yard pass normally. Yeah. But who can competently take their space quickly when they notice they have it? Who can competently play a 20, 30, 40-yard ball accurately on a regular basis? And who can make an actual decisive ball that opens up and splits the opponent's defense? Far, far less players. And the reality is the more difficult and more effective most of those passes get, the higher risk of losing possession it is. Now, obviously, the game is partially a game of picking and choosing your moments. There's moments where I am going to play safe because maybe I'm in my own penalty area, and playing too complicated in my own penalty area is a little bit too high risk. Maybe I made a 40-yard defensive sprint to recover the ball, and I don't have enough energy at that moment to turn my man and beat him. Mm-hmm. But there's also times where it's well, I have the space, or I know maybe I'm in my defensive third, but I know the striker overcommits when he pressures me, so I know I can take him, and other things like that. It's always about knowing when and where to pick your moments. And a lot of people will say, don't do this in the defensive third of the field, don't do this in the midfield, try stuff in the attacking third. And I was well, kind of. I mean, you could argue that I'm going to pick and choose my moments more in the attacking third, probably more often, but I'm actually just going to pick and choose my moments when I see them. And Yes, I've actually been playing in goalkeeper in a college game and dribbled past the striker at least once.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, in this third of the field, we never take any risks. In the middle of the field, we sometimes do. And then in the attacking third, we always take risks, right? Like, we talked about this in a former podcast, but like, if I'm attacking, like, let's make it really, really extreme. It's like 4 attackers and we're going just against the goalkeeper, like an insane counterattack, right? Like I'm going to drive at the goalkeeper, pull him in, like little pass to the side, and
that's
my teammate has an
simple.
open net, right? Like that's playing simple. Exactly. Like I'm not going to, well, I mean, maybe if we're already winning the game, I'll go for it. But like, I'm not going to like try to rainbow the keeper or something just because, I'm in the
Mario
attacking
Balotelli.
third, right? Right. Yeah. Like, and by this, and similar situations could happen within your box, where like the only way you can clear the ball is by like doing a bicycle kick or something. Like, what am I not going to like clear? I'm just going to be like, I can't get to it. So whatever. Because that'd be too complicated to do in my own box, come on, like, you have to just like use your brain a little bit.
We're all big Rene Higuita fans here. That's the style of goalkeeper we like, Rene Higuita.
Wait, is he the scorpion one?
He's the scorpion kick guy, dribbles out of the box, scores free kicks. That's the type of goalkeeper we like.
And I think like Dimitri can probably back me
up
on
this podcast,
goalie.
We'll get him on.
Like great, like a lot of the great players that I've played with who were like, who would play, what people would consider very simply or something, like they had the capacity to do incredible things. And sometimes they did them. They just picked their moments very well. Right. Like I say all the time, like Neymar at the end of most of his plays, what does he do? He plays a simple pass. But, he does a lot, he picks his moment to take 1v1s, take shots, make forward runs. And you have to, play simple passes sometimes to open up that opportunity to be more risky, and take your chances. Right. But, at the top level, players have the capacity. Like if who's like the most like simple player you can think of playing professional?
Busquets.
Oh, Busquets. Okay. Jay. Yeah. Like Busquets, like, what he does. Well, one, I wouldn't even say it's simple, but like, he could go play in Sunday League and dribble past everyone and score. Even though he's not particularly quick, but
there's levels to what simple is. The higher your technical levels are, the more you can do, and you're still actually not doing anything beyond or special or taking a risk even. I mean, we take the highest level players in the world, and Lionel Messi can do things that for him are simple, that for anyone else on earth are just otherworldly to even think trying. And that's the other thing that people don't comprehend to this is like, as you become more technically advanced, maybe doing a rainbow over a player is simple for Neymar. I mean, how many times has he done it successfully? I mean, it's actually not that high of a risk for him. But another point I wanted to touch on, because like the whole playing simple, sometimes like I've actually thought of it this way, because I do play 1-2 touch most of the time while I'm playing. And the reason I'm doing 1-2 touch isn't because I'm trying to play simple. It's because my brain and my decision making is actually moving faster than I could run, even if I was Usain Bolt fast. And I don't think that's simple at all. I think it's the opposite of simple, is that I've recognized that, well, I have passes down the field that I can make in 1-2 touches. And the only way I can get there is passing. So that's what I'm going to do. That's the most effective option. And it's actually like you see the higher technical level, the better decision-making level, and the quicker speed of play ends up playing more 1 and 2 touch, not because it's more simple, but because it's just better. And when you see players who maybe they're technically fairly good and they're athletic, they take a lot more touches on the ball, they take on more dribbles and all these things, which people would say is not playing simple. but it actually is more simple because they're not seeing the passes that higher level players see.
Yeah, definitely. Like, a perfectly weighted one-touch pass, like out of the air to put your teammate through on goal. It's a one-touch pass, but it's anything but simple, right?
Yeah. Well, just having the concentration to like be making these passes, moving after you make them, receiving the ball, one touch, two touch. Only the highest levels players have that consistently for 90 minutes, 100 minutes, whatever they're playing.
Yeah, and you see people at the highest levels, they'll literally made the decision before the balls even got to their foot, yet after it's got to their foot. Lower level players need one touch minimum to get the ball under control.
They take a touch, look up, look around. Yeah. Okay, and now I have space. I'm going to take it forward. As a top level player, first touches into the space.
Yeah, actually, like the biggest issue I have with lower level players is they tend to need 3, 4, 5 touches to do anything with the ball. And by the time that they've got their minimum touches to get under control and actually consider picking their head up, they're already under pressure. Their passing options have lost, where a high level player can make their first touch into the space they need, or even a one touch pass. And they're playing the ball on their second or third touch. Usually they don't need to have all these extra touches to get under control. And yeah, that is more complex than the player who needs 4 or 5 touches to do anything.
Yeah. So if you guys had like a player or a team or something, how would you go about promoting what like you think would be like effective play rather than like simple play? And I also want to hear like, what do you think about like where, like, if I'm like I want my players taking risks like all the time, and maybe not all the time, but I really do think that like, especially with younger teams, I want them, like, if a player has the confidence to take a risk, I want them to take it. Like, and I honestly don't care what it is, because I think that so many other coaches and playing environments that you're in will try to like smash you towards this side of my I gotta make like a photo of this spectrum thing. Yeah.
You gotta make a scale.
But like, I feel like so many other coaches and playing environments, as I said, are trying to like smash players towards this end of the spectrum. And I just want to like push players towards playing with as much risk as possible. Not to be like a contrarian, not just because other coaches are saying that, but because I honestly believe that like, as a maybe like up to an 18-year-old, that's what you need. And then you can go to a better team and that coach can rein you in a little bit, and like help you to, and it's not like I won't talk to them about making good decisions on the ball, but like, I really do want to like, I want them playing with as much confidence as possible, whether they're making good decisions or not. And then like, whatever other coach they work with can like, contain them. But I'd rather send them to a coach and have that coach be like, woof, like blown away and be like, okay, I got to rein this player in a little bit, rather than have that coach be like, it's nothing special, Yeah. So how would you go about like promoting, effective play with if you were working with a player?
So first thing I want to say is I actually completely agree with that, because the reality is especially in youth, this is your time to be creative and take some risks, because let's face it, who cares what happens in your U16 game?
I care so
as
much.
far as results. Yeah, every single parent.
I had a player once.
Every single one.
I had a player once at like U10, and we had lost a game, and I was given the team talk afterwards, and I was like, you guys played so well. I'm so proud of you. Don't worry about this game. You're not even going to remember this game, next week. And one of the players was like, I'll remember this game next week. And I was like, come on. just let it go.
I remember that game to this day. I had 10 million on it.
But the thing is like the point Cristo was making is it is much more harder to teach creativity and to learn creativity than it is to learn to play a role in a strict position and to stay organized in a formation. I mean, so like I'm going to pick on Stoke City a little bit because it's the stereotype team.
How dare you?
But it's much
not
more
even
difficult.
A team in the Prem. Can we pick on like Leeds or something after yesterday?
It's a cold, rainy night in Stoke. The saying is a cold, rainy night in Stoke. It's not a cold, rainy night in Burnley. But it's much easier to teach a player who has the abilities to be Sergio Busquets or even the more technical and flashy players at Barcelona to play more reserved and controlled in a system like Stoke City might play than it is to take a player that grew up playing the Stoke City way and throw them into Barcelona tiki-taka. You can do one to the other, but you can't do the other to one. And basically, I would, with most players, I would encourage them more often than not to keep the ball on the floor when they can, because what I really discourage is the hopeful long balls down the field that aren't really, I mean, maybe if I have a kid who just has a particularly accurate long pass, like I'll be a little more lenient with them, but I want to see them do good short range passing, playing to feet, dribbling when they need to, dribbling when it's a good option to go 1v1, and more, I mean, not playing simple, but playing good quality passes, quick, crisp, and technically using technical passes, not what a lot of people do, playing long balls to the corner, trying to cross the ball into the box, whether there's a man in the box or not. And yeah, just trying to learn how to play technical and quick and focus on that, not so much the play simple, play safe aspect of the game.
Yeah. As for me, I'd do a lot of small-sided games with all my players. You know,
favorite
from
thing.
2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4s, 5v5, 6, all the way up. I'd probably play. We used to do a lot of 11v11s, but on smaller fields.
How small? Like half or like 3/4 or something?
Sometimes half, sometimes 3/4. Depends. I think 3/4 is pretty good length.
Yeah, I think half is also sometimes kind of small, but 3/4 is good. Yeah.
When I played pro indoor, we played 11v11 in the indoor field.
Wait,
nice.
That sounds pretty fun.
I don't know how well known this is, if this is known or not, but like Tottenham, for most of their youth, their younger teams, they don't even have positions for their players when they play games. Everyone's just rotating around the whole time, and I feel like this is probably really helpful because you can have the defensive players end up way up front, they're taking their risks, and then the attacking ones have to drop back, and everyone's swapping all the time. So I think that's definitely really encouraging and motivating, and definitely helps with this effective play for all the people.
Yeah, I think like not having positions can be like super helpful. Like you know, learning more things. I think like I move my players around all the time because I think that it's so important. Like as a striker, playing as a center back will help you so much to like understand like that side of the game. And you can get like stuck in a mindset of like, I am a striker, I do this. I'm a central midfielder, I do this. Like, and it's
a bench player.
Yeah, I think it's just like bad mentality.
How many of the people on TikTok comment, what drills should I be doing if I'm a right back? What drills should I be doing if I'm a left winger? They don't even just say winger or outside back. They say left and right, because some coach has pigeonholed them to that specific position. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Until they turn at least 16 years old, the goalkeeper should be playing striker for one half too. Even goalkeepers should not be limited to just playing goalkeeper. And you should probably have 2 to 3 guys that do goalkeeper training on occasion, just so they have it in them. And maybe after they hit puberty, maybe one of them grows to be 6'4" and have cat-like reflexes who wasn't when he's younger. And yeah, then that guy transitions to actually just being a goalkeeper. But this
like me.
idea that you are a specific position is really just doesn't make any sense to me, because like, who's the first attacker on the pitch? The goalkeeper is. And if not the goalkeeper, it's the center back or the outside back. Who's the first defender on the pitch? Your center forward. I mean, everybody on the pitch has to do at least similar jobs throughout the match. Like, yes, there maybe is a little bit more variety. And yes, the striker probably doesn't have to be as good at 1v1 defending as a center back or an outside back. But at the end of the day, you're a soccer player. You're not a specific position. And the only specialized position in the entire sport is goalkeeper. And in the modern game, at least, goalkeepers need foot skills. I mean, Ederson at Manchester City says that if they switched him with Kevin De Bruyne, nothing would change. And whether that's hyperbole or not, that's the attitude I even like from a goalkeeper. Is I think the goalkeeper should be able to play on the field if he was
100%
put on it.
Yeah, for things that I do with players to kind of build, like, get them to play effectively and get them to be okay with, taking a risk here or there. I do like, so I like for play to move on very quickly after a mistake. So if I'm doing an individual session, I always have like another soccer ball, usually like 5 or 6, ready to go, so that like if a pass is misplaced, I'm like right behind me, I grab another soccer ball and we go right back into doing the same thing, whatever it was, just because I don't want a play to end on a mistake. I want to like get them straight back into it so they don't even think about the mistake. It doesn't even matter. And then for like team sessions, I do a lot of my small-sided games. I keep the ball in play constantly. So I have like ball boys to keep the ball in play and do that like murder ball style games, which I think are really, really good. So it'd be like, playing indoor with walls. Obviously, having walls would be nice as well. And I have done some sessions in indoor places. But I like, if I'm outside or whatever, I'll have people or just, players, make 3 teams, and one team is the ball boys. And when a goal is scored, we swap the teams. Cause I like, I want the ball to be in play all the time. So we don't have time to stop and like, think about the mistakes we made or anything. Ball never goes out of play. We're just playing. Obviously, like sometimes I do stop and talk about mistakes if they're happening over and over and over and over again. But I like to, so I think like the 2 of the most important coaching like actions that you can take are like, one is praise. So like specific praise for individuals, I think is really, really important, even when they make mistakes. So like, I like if a player tries to take a 1v1 and they lose the ball, but they were in a really good position to take that 1v1, I'll tell them that, right? Like I'll say, well done to the defender as well, but I'll be like, Jake, well done. That was a good decision to take that 1v1. Doesn't matter that you lost it, straight back in, go win the ball back.
Stuff, Jake.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I want, I want my players to know that like, it's not just about the end result. It's about them making good decisions and especially for me, being willing to take a risk and take a 1v1 or try to make an incredible pass or take, a shot or, whatever it is. And then also questioning. I think that like asking players questions to kind of understand their thought process, also so they can understand their thought process and like understand the why of, why to make a certain decision, why not to make a certain decision. I think that's really helpful because like you can tell a player what to do in one specific situation, but it's or give a man a fish or teach him how to fish, right? Like, if you can teach that player, how to make good decisions, how to fish, then they'll be able to take what they've learned and apply it to other situations as well, rather than just knowing, okay, when I'm here and the defender is here and my teammates are everywhere where they are, this is what I should do. but help them understand why they should do that. And then, or what other options they have as well. And then they can learn to like play their style, make the decisions that they think are good. And, they learn and they can apply that to, in every situation that they play in. Right. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
Because you mentioned the making mistakes and all that stuff, and especially how you like not to let people dwell on them, I just thought I'd bring it up because it's a point that you've made before and I've made as well. Everyone remembers the Cryuff quote, the football is a game of mistakes. The team that makes the least mistakes wins. Well, here's the quote those guys don't want you to know about by Johan Cryuff. Players that aren't true leaders, but try to be, always bash other players after a mistake. True leaders on the pitch assume others will make mistakes. And I think that's more what you like, Crusoe.
Yeah.
And it's not what these people who say play simple or discourage taking risk and all these other things think. And like when they see the football is a game of mistakes quote, they want you to line up 11 men behind the ball, play super conservative, super defensive and all this stuff, which was the complete opposite of what Johan Cryuff did during his actual career and how he taught players to play at Ajax and Barcelona when he was a coach, which is what they forget and what they leave out when they use that quote. To where like Cryuff was a genius, but he also sometimes contradicted himself, obviously. And
the quotes are taken out of context and,
the football is a game of mistakes was probably after he lost a game that they should have won.
Yeah.
And it's taken out of context. And I mean,
it was refereeing mistakes that he was talking about.
We can take a lot of things out of context. Like telling people how to fish,
Yeah.
Quote mining is kind of like a hobby of people who want to confirm their own biases instead of actually trying to understand what anyone was saying. And since we're talking football, Johan Cryuff is our Socrates or whatever. Not Socrates, actually. Socrates needs more quotes as a player. The Brazilian Socrates, he needs to actually... And he literally has a college degree. What is his problem? He needs inspirational quotes.
But he wasn't in your top 3 Brazilian players of all time, so...
No, he's in my top 3 Corinthians players, though.
Okay. All right. Well, anything else to add on playing simply? No, I think we're all set. No, all right. So obviously we don't agree on everything, but I think we all agree that playing simple is a term that like I don't even know what it means anymore. And I think it's much more, it's much better to think about just playing effectively and, playing safe at times and taking risks sometimes and, just trying to make good decisions. I'll drop links to all our social media in the description. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify.
Podcast.
What?
Fisherman's Podcast.
Yeah. If you subscribe, if you want to leave us a review on Spotify or Apple, that helps us out a lot. We'll catch you. Maybe we'll do one more episode next week before Christmas. So I'll save wishing you Merry Christmas for that. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
See ya.
Bye.